Hello, Pile 5E, and welcome to your part of this pick-a-card reading video. So, here we are. If you need to pause and meditate with your stack, you can certainly do that now. Otherwise, we will get into it now. So we will start with the tarot spread portion, and then later on we will get to two different sections for the oracle cards. You'll see what I mean later on. But yeah, we'll just start with these 12 tarot cards. We have Temperance upright, Four of Pentacles in reverse, Knight of Wands in reverse, Seven of Wands in reverse, Six of Pentacles in reverse, Judgment in reverse, Nine of Wands in reverse, Two of Pentacles upright, Queen of Swords upright, Eight of Pentacles in reverse, the Empress upright, and Ace of Wands in reverse. So, it's very interesting because first of all, I think a lot of you are very fiery people. Even though here, how many actually there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Wands cards, but the Temperance card I associate with Sagittarius. Well, it is, yeah, associated generally speaking with Sagittarius. So that's a very fiery card as well. We do have the Earth sign cards here, the Pentacles cards here as well. Anyway, when I was laying down near stack, I was hearing the song Take the Power Back. What is it? Take the Power Back by Rage Against the Machine. If you've never heard it, it's on the same album as Blanking in the Name of. So very good song. It's like in the song list, it's like before or after, I think, that song. But I was hearing that, but then when I was picking up, if you listen to any of my other pick-a-card readings, you know that I don't really look much at the cards. I just very briefly scan over everything before I hit start. And so when I was doing that, after I heard Take the Power Back as I was laying out like the second row, I'm like, it's very interesting because Take the Power Back, but I feel like the reading of this is opposite almost of that in many ways. But then I'm like, oh, okay, nope, I get it. I get why I was hearing that song. That song is generally about taking the power back from like public officials, from the government, from people in higher authority who impose laws and restrictions upon the common people. I'm not getting that sense from you, but I think the power back that you need to take is from yourself. Like, you need to take the power back in a way from yourself, in a way, but from not the shadow part of yourself, but just the unhealed part of yourself. Let me explain that better. Basically, a major theme for you all for 2026 is that you will need to focus on bad habits. Okay, you'll need to focus on healing bad habits. I see that at any point this year, the bad habits you try to break, I see you making progress, but then when you stumble really hard. Like, let's say you have a bad habit of something, even if it's something small, or it may appear small, like biting your nails. Let's say that then you go a few months without biting your nails, but then all of a sudden you do it like crazy, and then you get a lot of, like, let's say you even make one of your nail beds bleed because you're biting your nails so aggressively or so close. It's like you fall back on that bad habit and you do it even worse than you did before. I just gotta say, that kind of behavior is very, very common. It's honestly to be expected. When we're getting rid of bad habits, especially these things, habits typically keep us safe in some way. So when we are trying to get rid of bad habits, if we falter, it can be, I mean, you hear that all the time with people who are addicts of all kinds. You could suffer from addiction. I could see that for you all. But, because I don't think YouTube likes people talking too much about that stuff, I think I'll mainly focus on just saying bad habits. Because an addiction is a bad habit, but, I know it's more than just that, it goes deeper than that, right? But, yeah, okay, so bad habits. I see that, what was I saying before? I was talking about how it's very common for people, and you see this in addicts as well, where people could even be in remission, or people could be sober or free from a substance for decades, and then all of a sudden they slip up once, and then they're no longer here on Earth. Stuff like that happens all I'm not seeing that for you, by the way. That's an extreme example, but I am saying that this bad habit or multiple bad habits, I think there's 1 or 2 main bad habits, but I think there's other habits that probably accompany those main bad habits, okay, for you all that you have. And it feels like these bad habits are things that, yeah, you've been doing for a while. I don't get a sense that these are new bad habits. And if they seem new, then I would venture to guess that these bad habits that you have stem from other bad habits that you used to have that stem from maybe a negative occurrence in your life. But it feels like, obviously, this is common to say as well. These bad habits stem from negative experiences that you've had. And in a way, it makes you feel safe and it safeguards you from this negative experience from the past, even if it was a recurring negative experience. It could have been a one-time thing that happened in the past, or it could have been something that happened all the time. Like, maybe for example, a one-time thing could be getting in a car wreck, but then a multiple occurrence thing could be seeing your parents be toxic and abusive toward each other. There's many things that could apply. For some of you, I actually don't get the sense this is from childhood, but I feel like this is something you've been doing for a while, and it could be something that stems from childhood, but I don't get the sense that this is something that at least was fully fledged out in your childhood. It feels like something that was adapted more later in life, which is why, certain addictions would make more sense for that, if that does make sense for you. But I get a sense that this will be something you'll go back. Oh, yeah, we do have the 8 of Cups in reverse here. This is something, in terms of getting rid of this bad habit, you'll make excuses for. So maybe you'll make progress, but then you'll falter and you'll be like, no, but this is actually an okay thing. It's okay for me to do. Or it's okay for me to do this bad habit every once in a while. Like, it's okay. So I think you'll make excuses for yourself or try to justify throughout this year going back to these bad habits. But then I see the cycle repeating where you're like, okay, no, I gotta stop. And then, you hop on the train of doing this bad habit again. And I really have to emphasize, I feel like crying already, because I relate to you all. A lot of people relate to this. They just maybe don't talk about it. And it could be something so small or it could be something so big. And a main thing that you all need to work on is releasing shame. The less shame we hold for the mistakes we make, or falling back on bad habits, or having any of them in the first place, the less shame we hold in that regard, the easier it is to heal. That doesn't mean it's easy. So I guess I should say a different word. The more, well, I guess I could say easier. It's not easy, but I'll say you'll be more aware of the situation. Having more awareness also helps you to heal. You can't heal from something you're not aware of what it is. Like, if you have a bad habit but you don't recognize it as being bad, then it can't be healed. If you said something that was offensive but you don't understand how it is offensive, then how would you be able to heal, right? So think about it like that, using that perspective of the first step is realizing that these are bad habits. And then I think after that is where it's harder once you realize and once you're aware, because we hold shame, because we hold these subconscious feelings toward these habits having been formed in the first place. So Spirit is saying to not hold shame. The less shame, the better. And even if that means if you do make mistakes or if you do fall back on these bad habits as you're starting to try to distance yourself from the bad habits. Spirit is saying that if you mess up, if you make mistakes, you have to be kind and gentle. Oh, I feel like crying. You have to be kind and gentle to yourself. That's especially shown here with Temperance and the Empress, both in the upright. Because with Temperance, Spirit is saying you must be patient with yourself. This isn't going to be an overnight thing, and this isn't going to be something that's linear. And this also doesn't mean that for many of you, it won't impact you ever again. This is something that could impact you the rest of your life. People talk about that. Me, I have, in the past, suffered greatly from an ED, okay? And something like that, I can say at least from personal experience for that, like, it's something that based off of your day-to-day choices and decisions and the thoughts that occupy your brain, those things oftentimes, at least once a day, will pop up. Like for me, when I'm about to have a meal, or if I'm preparing a meal, or if I'm thinking about later on in the week what I'm gonna make, what I'm gonna eat, stuff like that. having certain bad habits or addictions impairs your thinking for most people for the rest of their life. That doesn't mean that you have to cave into the bad habits. That just means for a lot of you, you have to become aware of these thoughts that will come. You can't just have unrealistic thinking that you not doing this bad habit or engaging in this bad habit anymore. You can't believe that not doing that will therefore lead to no future mistakes or no future uh inklings to fall back on these bad habits, especially when times get stressful. That's something I want to talk about in here too. It seems like with the Six of Pentacles in reverse, when I was looking at that, I was thinking whenever things are unbalanced in your life, whenever you are more highly stressed out, I see you more likely to fall back on these bad habits or the urges come back because of the high adrenaline rushes. And that also can come from really positive life changes or events that happen as well. Any highs and any lows that happen, you and people in general who have these certain bad habits, they're more likely to fall on these bad habits. You are more likely to fall on these bad habits for that. So if you notice that starts happening for you, you can try to then prepare for the future when that happens. So if something bad, really bad, or something good, really good happens, you can already prepare yourself and have hopefully techniques to be like, okay, I don't need to fall back on this bad habit. I don't need to do this thing. It isn't helpful for me. I can just, I will get through this moment if it's bad, or if it's good, I'll just be present in this moment. And I do want to say, you if for some reason I feel the need to bring this up. For some of you, if you do feel like it would be best to be medicated, then I want for you to do that, right? I'm not saying go and get meds, but some people, for example, for me when I was younger, I was on fluoxetine or Prozac, and I was at the highest dose that could be prescribed. At least that's what they told me and at the time. For me, I'm not on meds now, but when I was on meds, it literally saved my life. It quite literally to a T saved my life to go on that medication. So for some of you, if you need external help, I feel like that shame is creeping in. Where if you need help in the form of medications that are trusted by your doctor, that prescribed to you by your doctor, then don't feel ashamed to do that. Whether you've taken meds before or not, it's not something that should be stigmatized or that you should feel scared of. With proper treatment, with proper care, and proper evaluation. So make sure you have trusted healthcare professionals around you, a trusted primary care physician or doctor or specialist. And for some of you, I think what will be helpful this year is going to therapy. I think a lot of you are maybe going this journey alone of healing from these bad habits, but sometimes it's better to actually have other people see us and hear us and validate that it's hard to break this bad habit, but then also hold us accountable when we start slipping up again, but in a way that comes from wanting us to just do better and be happier and healthier. So seeing a therapist or counselor, or psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever, I see that being very helpful as well, because I think a lot of these bad habits do stem more so from mental. Like, even if you go through something in life that impacts you physically, a lot of times studies have shown that the mental impact from anything you go through, even if it was something that physically affected you, the mental impact has typically the greatest impact on your health moving forward and on your habits moving forward, on your lifestyle moving forward. People are more likely to develop PTSD because of the mental side of things. For some of you, you could maybe relate to that. Maybe you do have PTSD or CPTSD, right? So I think a main thing Spirit wants to highlight is that you shouldn't shame yourself for maybe even the way this comes across is don't shame yourself for still also being tied or connected to the feelings or events of the past. Because I think what I'm hearing is, when people are like, well, that was long ago in the past. I don't need to think about it anymore. Spirit's like, no, you do actually. You do need to think about it. Because that's the thing that's causing you issues is that you haven't thought about it enough or you haven't thought about it effectively or in a healing manner. Because you can talk about stuff and maybe you can realize how certain bad habits formed, how certain thoughts formed, and you can be like, "It's because of this thing, and this thing that happened was bad." You can do that, but then, like, how much deeper do you go beyond that? Are you like, "Okay, well, these are the reasons why specifically it was bad," instead of just giving maybe 1 or 2 surface level reasons that other people would be able to pinpoint. It's like, okay, notice your bad habits, how they do connect to these past experiences. Notice how you feel when engaging in these bad habits and how that maybe relates to the same or opposite feeling that you had growing up. And here's the thing I want to say too is that sometimes I mean I guess I talked about this already, but we feel safest with things we are familiar with. So for some people, we engage in bad habits or in bad or toxic behaviors because it does bring us back to this time when we were younger or just a previous time. We can be brought back when we are engaging in these bad habits to a time where maybe we weren't safe, but because we were able to get through it, we can subconsciously connect the feelings and the events of of any situation or recurring situation, and connect that to a bad habit now. Let me try to think of an example. Like, you hear, I mean, I guess I said I wasn't gonna try and talk about it too much, but it's popping up a lot. Like, let's say growing up, you grew up in a family with at least one alcoholic parent, and let's say that this parent, um, yeah, they weren't very nice or kind to you or anybody in your family, and they weren't emotionally available for anybody. And let's say that you grew up and then you start engaging in similar behaviors, specifically as it relates to maybe alcohol or similar substances. And so Spirit is saying that in that kind of sense, you could repeat things from other people or from other situations. There's other stuff I want to bring up, but I know that YouTube would especially be very upset. Yeah, but just any abuse you've dealt with in life, later on in life, you could like, let's just I talk about this example because it's something that's more YouTube friendly, but, like, let's say that you have codependency issues. Maybe you have that now because in childhood, you saw your parents were codependent, right? So that's something that is a bad habit. That is bad toxic behavior. It's actually not a form of self-care, believe it or not, to be with people who you have to rely on for your happiness. You should be happy yourself without only being happy and deriving your happiness from other people and doing what other people say to a T, even if you don't feel like it's right. So in that situation, it's like that repeating of the cycle. So the way this comes across is cycles that were present to you when you were younger or at any point in time, anything that was normalized that shouldn't be normalized are things you must work on. That can involve the codependency issues, okay? That can involve, I mean, so many things. A lot of times it's tied in with religion and culture, but and I'd say that too because our cultural, societal upbringing can impact our bad habits moving forward. It makes me think also, like, I see those TikToks of people who are very highly religious, and let's say the song Dancing with the Devil by Demi Lovato comes on. Then people, if they start listening to that, singing along to that, then they're like, no, I rebuke that in the name of Satan. I don't know why I start listening to that. Oh my God, I'm so bad for listening to this song. So, like, that's an example. Maybe some of you relate to that. I think the way it comes across with that example is that some of you maybe have overcompensated. So maybe your bad habits are a way to overcompensate for things that have happened before. And okay, this is a very weird example. Let's say when you were younger, you didn't drink much water, and like one time you got so dehydrated, you had to get like IV fluids. This is so random. And then maybe now in adulthood, you drink so much water, but you drink so much to the point of it depleting all your vital minerals and vitamins and nutrients and all that. It's very much like that. It's like a bad habit can maybe appear to be good as well, or it can appear to be neutral. But think about the context and think about if it's actually all that good. 'Cause some of you, maybe it's that the bad habit is that you overcompensate and you do too much. And too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing. It can be a bad thing, is the way that this comes across. And I have to highlight the temperance card again because Spirit is saying that any way in which you I don't wanna say. The best way I can describe it is that if you're trying to work on this and heal, if you make mistakes, that's not delaying the process or the progress that you make. Any bad habit you're trying to break, if you, like, mess up, you do it, that does not delay your progress. I think it can actually be sometimes helpful in those kinds of situations to fall back on bad habits and realize, "Okay, how do I feel now that I haven't done it in a while and then I did it? How do I feel? And what's something I can do in the future now that I engaged in this bad habit. What can I do moving forward to prevent myself from going back to this place again?" A lot of times with bad habits, people talk about replacing bad habits with good habits. So let's go back to biting your nails. Maybe instead of biting your nails, whenever they get longer, you can just try to clip them. Or some people, what they do is very common is they paint their nails or they go to a salon to get them painted for them. I think there's more positive solutions and habits that Spirit is saying you are able to replace with these bad habits. And with the Four of Pentacles in reverse too, it makes me think that these good habits will actually save you energy, because that's the thing. Negative and bad habits actually are very draining for us. Even though we can be in autopilot while we do these things, it gets our adrenaline going and it gets us in a state of being kind of stuck in the past in a way. And so Spirit is saying to get unstuck from that and being present while also engaging in better habits will actually, at first, it will feel very anxiety inducing for most people. But as you keep it at it, it should feel a lot more calm. That's the thing. A lot of you, I don't think, are used to feeling calm and present. So when you get out of that bad habit, these bad habits also take us away from the present. So once you are faced with the present, once you are faced with the reality of the world around you, and you have to be engaging with that, or even still with that, like being still in moments of silence, I think I know that that's very anxiety inducing for many people. So Spirit is saying that there are ways that you can help. Like, it reminds me of CBT therapy too, or it reminds me of EFT tapping. Doing simple things, or simple things that don't even require money that you can do to try and help yourself, or that require minimal money. And part of that too is having a better support system. With the Judgment card in reverse, I wonder if there's also people in your life who engage in similar bad habits. So if you were to try to break these habits, I think these people would try to project their pain and suffering of them engaging in this bad habit still upon you. So, if you stop biting your nails and then somebody in your family, let's say you're full of a family of nail biters, and then you're the one that stops doing it. And then other people, even if they don't bring up specifically that issue or that habit of biting nails, I think people will find other ways to make jabs at you and to attack you to make you feel small so that they can lift themselves up because they feel like they're in a lesser position than you. And I think with the Judgment being here in reverse, I think you probably do this amongst other people as well. I certainly have done this kind of stuff too, and it reminds me of, I'll just call myself out here because it is an issue, and a lot of people, a lot of women specifically, need to work on this. I, because of my circumstances growing up and also just living in this world, period, I have had internalized misogyny, and there are moments where I still see that coming out. So Spirit's like, you need to be able to reflect to realize where you are wrong, right? And to not see where you project yourself onto other people. Where do you think other people have life easier than you? And that doesn't even mean they do, but like, think about that. Think about how you project by thinking other people have it easier than you, or that I can reverse that sentiment. Instead of saying other people have it easier, you have had it harder. Think of where that might relate to your line of thinking. Think of moments where people have been able to, like, it just makes me think like people in your life who have better coping habits and coping mechanisms, or even healthier relationships, people who are just generally healthier. Look at how you have projected yourself onto these people to try and lift yourself up. But so it's that way, but also the reverse of other people doing that to you. But I do see this being a long process. I love how the Temperance is the first card here, but the Ace of Wands in reverse. And I love that because while Spirit is saying that you should be patient with yourself on this healing journey, with the Ace of Wands being reversed here, that indicates further. This is not something that will happen overnight. And also with the Ace of Wands being reversed, this shows that these are ingrained bad habits. They are habits that you do on impulse or without even thinking. without thinking before doing. These are things that are ingrained deep within you. So that's why Spirit's saying it's actually so brave of you to do what you're doing to try and hopefully this year break these bad habits because it is very ingrained within you and it's very subconscious. To be able to get out of your subconscious and to make things, you make yourself aware of the negative things you do or say, that is very difficult. And that's why not many people do it. So Spirit is saying that that is very tremendous, but also, they wanna highlight noticing these things is the first step, and after that, it can be even more difficult to deal with because you're having to face yourself and face things you're fearful of or face things that you don't like about yourself. So that's why practicing self-love, self-compassion, and self-kindness, like kindness toward yourself, will be so important during this time because Spirit is saying you can always do better. Don't shame yourself for not having done better in the past because now you are trying to do better, and Spirit is so appreciative and thankful and proud that you were able to hopefully make those next steps, even if you falter. And for some of you, I want to say, I get the sense that this is very common, but with bad habits, when we're trying to break them, we can become more ornery and upset and lash out at other people. This is different from what I was saying earlier about the projection because that's when you're deep in your bad habits in general. But I think when we are healing, and I relate to this as well, when I was recovering from my ED, people can become a lot more snappy and angry. And I think it's also because with the judgment card being reversed, I think you're fearful of other people's judgments now that you're aware of your bad habits. It's like you're fearful of other people judging you, even though you're trying to heal from this thing. So that's actually very admirable. So you shouldn't fear other people's judgments. If anything, people would be happier that some people at least will be happier that you are trying to better your life. Some people might have thoughts like, oh, why can't you just get over this habit or thought already? Don't listen to those people. Just focus on what you need to do for yourself to really fully heal because it's your own journey. Other people don't deal with what you have to deal with. Even people who are dealing with a similar situation, even if it seems like it's to a T, they don't have the same feelings and emotions tied to it in the same way that you do. Nobody's healing journey is the same. Nobody's journey into how they got into bad habits is the same. Not the exact same. You know why? Because they are not you and you're not them. Okay, so Spirit is saying that during this time, you really have to be kind and patient with yourself, even when you do mess up. And be patient with yourself, even if it takes a while to stop doing a bad habit again once you like, if you got rid of that bad habit and then you falter and go back on it, and maybe for, like, a month or 2, you're doing that bad habit again. Spirit is saying, "Try to be kind and get out of it the best way you can. Don't shame yourself, and then that will be able to help you get out of that again." I do see that happening not just this year, but throughout your life where you could go through these cycles. Or also, I want to say that if you get rid of a certain bad habit during this year, you should replace that bad habit with a good habit. But for some of you, you could replace it with a bad habit, like a different bad habit. Or you could replace the bad habit with a good habit, but then go overboard with it and make it a bad habit and be obsessive or compulsive with this good habit that turns it into a bad habit. You know what I'm saying? Um, like maybe a bad I don't know, I don't know why this popped in my head. A bad habit you could have is maybe you hate showering. You only shower like once every 2 weeks. I don't know. But then you start showering more, but then let's say you start doing it like 3 times a day. It's like then that goes overkill, right? Too much of a good thing isn't always a good thing. It can actually be a bad thing. So I think what mainly needs to be healed here isn't just the bad habit itself, but the compulsivity and going overboard, doing things in excess. That's where a lot of you, maybe the bad habit you have, it's not even like a bad habit. Maybe it could be something like overspending. You can still spend for yourself, hopefully, every once in a while, but that just means don't go overboard. That also doesn't mean don't ever spend money on yourself. There are these extremes here. Spirit is saying that things don't need to be completely black and white, and things don't need to be completely at 100% or completely at 0%. There needs to be a better balance so that you're not doing things specifically in excess. With Queen of Swords here, with this popping, oh, and the Two of Pentacles, by the way, is about things being in balance. So yeah, balancing out the extremes. The Queen of Swords being here makes me think that for some of you, talking with professionals, that gets brought up again, talking with mental health professionals, any medical or doctor professionals could be helpful. Anybody who's a professional as it relates to your situation or anybody who's a health professional could be very helpful. It reminds me too of any sort of support groups. I think doing things like that, seeing how other people have also, even I see you reading books of people who have gotten rid of bad habits that you are going to try to get rid of this year. I think even though I talked about how your journey is your own healing journey, I think you reading about other people's experiences or being taught about other people's experiences as it relates similarly to your healing journey and what habits you are trying to break, doing that will be very actually beneficial for you. I see you highlighting certain facts as well and the logical and rational side of things to help you heal. I think a lot of you aren't the best at emotionally evaluating things, but I feel like you're a lot better at if you were to look at the facts, if you were to look at other people's stories and how what helped them get better. But also that means that just because certain things help other people get better, don't put so much pressure. I think that could be part of your issue throughout the years that you put so much pressure on certain things helping you. And putting that pressure on is like doing things in excess. It's you're putting so much pressure on something working. Just try things out and see if they're able to help you. And if not, that doesn't mean you have to keep going. That doesn't mean you have to go overkill on trying to force this thing to work for you. This new good habit replacing this bad habit. Spirit is saying that isn't always going to be the case. There could be something you do that you've never heard of anybody else doing to help replace a bad habit. But if it works for you and if it doesn't hurt other people and if it especially doesn't hurt yourself and it's something that is helping you in some way, even if it's a little bit weird or quirky, I'm hearing, you should do that. If it doesn't impede on your life in a negative way, just try to find healthy habits. And with the Queen of Swords, it also makes me think, yeah, like I'm seeing somebody with a not a vision board, but like a whiteboard and having different things on there. So I think you looking in the mirror or looking at a whiteboard and like looking at the notes you have written down, I think that will be a very purposeful and helpful reminder for a lot of you that you are on the right track and that you should keep going on the right track. Because you have these things here. It's even shown in studies that writing things down makes you more likely to accomplish things. So I think for you all that actually very much resonates, especially because with the impulsivity, the subconscious actions that are shown here by the Ace of Wands reverse, Knight of Wands reverse, all these things. Spirit is saying that a way to get you out of that and into the present is by looking at your own handwriting, looking at what you have written down for what you would like to achieve and accomplish. It could also be like, maybe if it's been a month, maybe you do a small little celebration thing after in milestones. Celebrating milestones will, I think, be very helpful for you all and help you feel accomplished and make you feel like, okay, if I've done it for this long or I've reached this milestone, then I can keep going. So I see you doing small little milestones, but even big milestones. Let's say it's been 5 or 10 years and you're like, okay, I did this thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a nice trip out of town for myself. And you can save up for that. And then I see you being very happy and fulfilled by doing something for yourself that you maybe didn't think you'd ever be able to do. Or if you saw it modeled to you when you were younger, these bad habits, I see you being very happy and fulfilled in a way where you realize you were able to do something that was very difficult that people in your family weren't able to do and maybe still aren't able to do if they're in a similar boat. And I just see you also hopefully being proud of yourself. I would say look 2 to 3 years from now and look at how different your life is based off of different decisions you make because of your different perspective, your different habits. I just see you being hopefully a lot more grounded. And with the Empress here, that talks about self-care in general. So Spirit is saying that now's the time this year to start really looking after and caring for yourself. And other people might feel uncomfortable by your healing journey or your process, what you do, any progress you make. And Spirit is saying to not focus on that. Focus on your own healing journey. Focus on what helps you to come back to center and to feel relaxed and at peace with yourself. If you notice at any point in time you are doing something and it feels anxious if you don't do it, then Spirit is like in those moments too, think about what you can do to help alleviate stress and not be so anxious or obsessive about certain things that you do in life, certain decisions you make, and certain actions that you take. Feel like, is there anything else I have to say with this part of the videos? Yeah, I see you being fearful on this journey. Also, with the Nine of Wands, it makes me think too that other people won't respect your boundaries. So Spirit is saying to not engage with people who could hinder your healing journey or process. If people try to get you doing, it reminds me back to drinking and alcohol, where people, let's say you're at a party and you're like, you tell people beforehand, everybody's going to be at this small get together. Hey, I'm sober, I'm not going to drink anymore. But then people, when you're there, keep trying to shove alcohol down your throat. People like that, or they're just like, come on. There's a lot of peer pressure that could be entangled here to conform or to stay the same. So you might notice just your relationships will definitely shift throughout the next few years as well, because you don't want to be engaged with people who are continuously engaging in these bad habits, don't see the wrong in it, or don't see the wrong in trying to get you wrapped back up in these habits. So I see your relationship shifting, and I see you having to have better boundaries put in place against these negative influences. And with the Seven of Wands in reverse, that indicates basically just giving up in a way, or not being determined. I think that could relate in different ways. I think it's because you might feel more hopeful and more energized on this healing journey, as opposed to other times you'll maybe feel very low, sad, and wishing you could fall back on bad habits, and maybe you will. But I think that this card also indicates the opposite of that, where this is more so about giving up on this past version / present version of yourself that you don't like seeing when you look in the mirror, that you don't like thinking about the actions you take and the bad habits that you have. Spirit is saying now is a time where you're like, okay, I'm so fed up with all these things I do. I just want these things to stop. And so Spirit is saying, with take the power back, rage against the machine, bringing it all back full circle. You can take the power back from yourself. Anything that you have done to take your own power away, you can just as effectively place that power back within you, only if you allow yourself to, and if you replace the bad habits with good habits. If you put in the work, it's not supposed to be easy. It's meant to be difficult. And that's why you're so brave for doing this. So bring the power back into your life. You have more power by enabling healthy habits as opposed to being stuck in bad habits. To being stuck in this. Also, if like societally, if there's a lot of things that people do, stepping outside of that, you are so strong for doing that, and you provide yourself with more power individually as opposed to even any power you could draw from a group. But I do see other people hopefully helping you, especially professionally, or people who have gone through something similar, helping you on your journey along the way. So I will put these cards away. And then I pulled all these cards for all the piles sometime, I want to say over a week ago. So yeah, I definitely don't remember what the oracle cards are. But let's start placing them here. Just laying them all out for the first stack of oracle cards here. And then there's a smaller stack of oracle cards I will get to later. So the cards we have here are 27 Malachite Nature Heart Chakra, have a backup plan, a possum strategy, get some rest, 18 Cosmic Flower. The frequency of Cosmic Flower activates our remembrance of the place we call home, the core from which we pour our magnificence out into the world. Before I forget, I actually want to see what it says for 27 for you all. 27 Life Plan. Align with your life plan and your soul plan. And right below that is the alignment card. Your angels want you to reflect and consider deeply what it is you want in life versus what you think you should do. Create alone time for yourself today without people or technology. Ask yourself what you would want and free write about it in a journal without judgment. Yeah, that's a big thing for you all, is removing judgment from your life that you impose not only on other people, but yourself. Okay, the other cards here are alignment, it's coming together, precision, perspective, none of this matters, zoom out, common ground, hibiscus, extravagance, passion, extraordinary sexuality, beauty, uniqueness, break boundaries with sexuality, and find beauty in yourself / make a list. Yeah, making a list, like having things that you write out will be so helpful and beneficial for you all. Getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, your bond deepens. This can be about a romantic partner, potentially, like romance, or it could be about something separate. I'll get back to that in a bit. And then we have bountiful nature. Oh, and then the first card is nature. Interesting. Bountiful nature. Spending time in nature helps shift you to a higher vibration and reminds you of God's infinite abundance. Go outside and enjoy a walk or hike with your pet. Meditate beneath a tree, garden, sit under the stars, or do some other activity to connect with the limitless vastness. Where do I want to start with? I feel like I want to start with the hibiscus card. I want to go back to that. Find beauty in yourself. That's the thing. Part of what will help you hold less shame for yourself is to also find things that aren't just negative about yourself, right? But also things that you find valuable, that you find honorable, that you like and love and cherish about yourself. Once you're able to do that, and writing a list about that too, like here are the things, or writing affirmations, like this is what I'm happy about as it relates to myself, whether it's physically, whether it's things you've done for other people, whether it's beliefs you have, just anything. So write a list about positives. And then instead of writing it like positives versus negatives, write positives about yourself versus things you wish to improve on. And that reframes it. And we have here perspective. So it's like, it's all about how you frame things and how you view things. It's not just like, oh, I'm a negative, bad person. It's like, oh, no, I have these positive traits and I believe I'm a good person. If you don't believe you're a good person, then you should hopefully believe that you are able to soon become a good person through your own free will and through your own power. You gotta take the power back. And I love how it says beauty and uniqueness here because you really are. I talked about how your healing journey is unique to you, but that's also because not only are you just a unique individual, but I feel like there are parts of you that inherently just stand out in the crowd, which is why it might feel hard for you to fit in with people, or it might feel hard to connect with people. But Spirit is saying that you're such a unique individual, so that's why not everybody's meant to get you. Not everybody's meant to understand how you tick, how you operate. But the people who do will love, value, and cherish you if you allow them to. And the first person that should do that is yourself. And yeah, Spirit is saying though that they feel you are a good person. So you should find the beauty in yourself that others find in you and that Spirit finds in you. With getting to know each other, is it talks about that? Like I said, it's from the Romance Oracle deck, so it could be about romance. I think this is just about anybody in life, because I think there will be people you will no longer talk to, and there will be new people that you get to know, especially people who have been through similar things as you. These people who are able to have shared their story and open up will allow you to also open up. And even throughout this year and many years to come, you will eventually get to that point of being more vulnerable with other people. That means saying what bad habits you have, any bad traits you have, anything you're working on. But it's also saying not only, not that anything negative, but positive, what you're working on and things about yourself that you like. It seems like you're really going to grow and know more about yourself, minus the bad habits this year. It's like those bad habits have just been overrunning your life. They've been ruling your life in some way. So Spirit is saying as you remove those pieces, you'll start to know more of who you actually are. You'll find out more about yourself during this time period. And so with that, the people that you meet who are more, and we have alignment here, and that talks also about alignment of with other people. So as you get to know other people who are more aligned with you and people who are more similar to you, who have been through similar things as you will allow yourself to be more vulnerable, and then other people can maybe be more vulnerable as well. So it's a very balanced relationship that I see you forming with different people. I see it being more than one person, that you find new people in your life who are friends. And for some of you, this actually, I do get the sense more than pretty much any of the other stacks, that this could be related to romance. What is that noise? Sorry, there's a baby crying. I think they're in the hallway. I don't think you can hear it anyway, but I'm just like, what is that? Anyway, I think this could involve romantic partners. I think for some of you, you'll realize moving forward, even if you're not actually dating people yet, when you go on dates with people who are more aligned with you, and also when you're more present during those dates, it will feel almost like you've never dated before, or that you haven't dated in so long, because it will feel so new and refreshing. And I think the people who you draw to you during this time, during these next few years, I want to say, even though I know this is for 2026, but really over the next few years, for a lot of you, I feel like I need to say that. So over these next few years, you'll meet people, and that could involve going on dates with people or actually being committed in a partnership with people. And I feel like this vulnerability, allowing yourself to be open, will be very helpful because for some of you, what keeps the shame in is that you don't tell people about what's going on or these bad habits. You don't even tell yourself. I think for some of you, if you externalize, that's why I was talking about having things written down and seeing them. Even if you're by yourself, talking out loud will help you realize. It's like how some people even in therapy say, the therapist doesn't even say anything, it's just them talking out loud and then they come to the conclusion themselves. It's very much that coded, but it's also that anything you still need help identifying, anything you still need help being vulnerable with, doing that with somebody who you trust will be very important over these next few years. And that could involve actual romantic partners. But I get the sense that this card isn't just about romantic partners, it's about many different people. And it can include romantic partners. What is that? So I'm going to throw this away. I don't know what that is. Okay. I just don't want my cat to eat stuff he shouldn't be eating. So, what do I want to get to? What was I going to get to? Oh, I love how nature is brought up here twice. Because I don't know if I brought this up. And even though we do have get some rest here, I'll get to that. But it's very interesting. I don't think I talked about this during the tarot portion. But I was getting the sense that doing I want to say almost like doing hardcore physical activity will be very helpful for you because it will get you out of your head. And a lot of you have so much, I think, trapped and stored energy in your body that I was getting the sense that doing things difficult will be helpful also because getting rid of these bad habits in and of themselves will be difficult. So equalizing the difficulty of getting over these bad habits and no longer doing them, equalizing those with the hardness of physical activity, the way that they will cancel each other out almost will be beneficial. It's like the negativity tied to the bad habits and the hardness tied to that negativity versus the hardness of, or the toughness of intense physical exercise, but in a way that releases happy chemicals. So that's how Spirit wants to say that you can do hard things, but also have it be rewarding. So doing this hard thing, oh, and also it's like, yeah, replacing a bad habit with a good habit. Okay, so for a lot of you, I think exercise will be very important for replacing bad habits. That doesn't mean going overboard, remember that, okay? But I see you doing stuff like going on very physically intense hikes. I see you doing things that exert a lot of energy. I see you balancing out cardio and strength training and doing a lot of things. And I see you becoming a lot stronger mentally throughout this time I've already talked about, but physically, I see you becoming stronger as well. And I think that's something that will be motivating for you. Having better habits and you see the rewards and the fruits of your labor versus the negative habits, how they made you small or made you shameful. So doing things, I love how it talked about the hikes because I was getting visuals of that during the tarot spread, but I didn't bring it up. Where I think you being out in nature, going on walks, but also it's like I'm getting visuals of you doing marathons or like going on, ooh, you know what, long bike rides. Some people aren't good at exercise or they don't like exercising, but if you still like being out in nature and you don't want to go up and down hills or mountains and all that, going on very long bike rides will be very helpful for you. I think even replacing for some of you, instead of driving to work, if you bike to work, something like that. Because it gets you out of your head and that puts you in a better headspace before work as well as after work. You don't take your home with you and you don't bring any troubles into work. So I see exercise actually being able to eliminate any thoughts that come up or any instincts that come up for you to engage in bad habits. That doesn't mean whenever it happens, because it could happen multiple times a day. That doesn't mean just like do physical activity every time that happens. But I think the more physically active you will be, the easier, quote unquote, easier it will be to get rid of these bad habits and it won't even be something you have to worry about. Because for some of you, well, for many of you, I think the bad habits also just relate to any imbalance of emotions. So if you're highly sad or angry more than being happy or at peace, then A way to dispel that anger is to do high intensity physical exercise. And I see a lot of that anger and that sadness that has been lying dormant just completely exiting your body while you're doing this. And that's something you can visualize too, is like like if you see your sweat, or if you just see like the redness on your face, or you see how you're breathing hard. And then it's like, okay, I did this hard thing, I can do other hard things too. But at least this hard thing is good for me instead of this other thing that I rely on that's easy. And things can be hard but still be good. You know, all those things I was talking about. Like the balance of good and bad and positive and negative, and just finding homeostasis, finding peace. But for a lot of you, I think, like, you know, I do talk about how, well, we do have, okay, we have get some rest here. That's the thing too. Part of the balancing you need in your life isn't just balancing the bad habit by replacing it with a good habit. It isn't just by replacing one high intensity thing with another high intensity thing. It's also about finding a balance of rest. A lot of you, I think, struggle with being still with your thoughts, because then that's when you're more likely to engage in bad habits. I have been like that throughout my life to my core, so please do not take any of this like too personally, because it's like a lot of people truly deal with this, even if they don't talk about it. Where that's why people maybe overwork themselves. That's why people maybe are at the gym for so long. That's why people do certain things for an extended period of time and people fill up their schedule. So Spirit is saying, don't fill up your schedule. Like there can be some replacements here, the bad versus the good. And so we can do replacing, but that also doesn't mean filling up our schedule, because that makes it harder when we fill up our schedule and we do have alone time or downtime. It makes it harder to not actually engage in bad habits because we feel like we should be doing something, and then our adrenaline is up. And then when our adrenaline is up, it triggers our subconscious into doing these bad habits. So Spirit is saying that instead of doing that, we do need to find ways to get some rest and to be okay with being in stillness, and also being okay with negative thoughts that do come. You know, life is not perfect. We're not going to, even if you were to say you're fully healed, like what if negative thoughts come in? What if these inklings come in and you feel them in your body and you hear them in your brain? It's going to be a lot harder to resist those temptations if you're not used to being in stillness. So finding more time to be in stillness. And then I'm also seeing people, what is it? What am I, those people, what are they called? Not fidget, I mean, I guess fidget toys, but, oh, stress balls, like stress balls. Having something in your hand could help. That doesn't mean you should maybe always be doing that. You could find ways to be still without having to use, outside methods. But I see something like directing your energy and attention toward a stress ball, while also still directing your energy toward the thoughts that come in. It just, I don't know how to best describe it, I'm not a scientist, but doing that helps to almost distract in a way. But that's why I'm saying don't just distract from your thoughts. Like you can have these things that help, like doing something like a stress ball, doing something with your hands while you're trying to be as still as you can be. It can help to, it can just help to balance out the energies of any stress you're feeling. That's why it's called a stress ball, for example. That helps alleviate stress while stressful thoughts are coming in. So then they're less scary to tackle. They're less scary to think through and work through. So you just have to be able and willing to, oh, that's what I was saying before too. Like, don't be afraid to ask for help. That can mean using stuff like a stress ball. If chewing gum, it reminds me of people who smoke and they chew gum to try and help get rid of their bad habits. So don't be afraid to get some rest and do things that help eliminate stress while getting you to tackle these issues head on, because you can't just push them away. You can't just be like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. You have to understand truly why it is you do the things you do and why it is you think the things you think. Spirit's like, once you are able to know the whys, you can also figure out the how to fix this situation type mentality. You can adapt that and be like, okay, I understand that these are the whys for why this has happened. These are the steps, writing it down, physically seeing in your own handwriting, these are the steps, and in your phone. But writing, and you can check in like throughout the day. Like that's the thing, writing in your phone, I recommend handwriting things out, but I also recommend putting things in your phone, because if throughout the day you're somewhere like away from home, you're uncomfortable, you're in a stressful situation, you feel like doing something like biting your nails, and then it's like you just pull up your phone, you read these different mantras or these positive affirmations, and you also write down these, like, any specific steps That's why it's, like, the logical side of things. Writing steps for what you can do. Like, okay, this is like, this will happen and then this and this, and if you have any grounding techniques, like, first do this, and then do this, and then do this. Doing stuff like that helps to get you back to the present as quickly as possible, so you can be like, "Okay, I'm not in ultimate danger," or if there's something out of my control, then I can't control it, I'll just do my best. Doing things like that I see being very helpful, and it will get to a point where you won't maybe need to always use a stress ball, or you won't maybe always need to write things in your phone. You'll be able to just sit there with your thoughts eventually, but that's okay to use helpful things at first that get you to that point, such as a stress ball, such as writing down notes and mantras. And then over time, maybe you won't have to do those as much. You'll just maybe sit there in silence and you'll just like address your thoughts, and then if it's something that isn't helpful for you, then you can just let it pass through you. If it's something that you need to address more, then you can do that, but in a way of being calm and centered and not anxious or hypervigilant. So there's the balancing of getting rest with doing high intensity stuff and doing hard stuff. Because Spirit is saying to you, you shouldn't punish yourself for things. You shouldn't punish yourself, like I've been saying, you shouldn't punish yourself if you have made a mistake or fallen back on a bad habit or formed a new bad habit. Because that actually isn't helpful. Okay, so there's a balancing things out in your life will help so much. And with have a backup plan. Oh, frequency. Don't okay, yeah. What do I want to talk about first? Don't want to talk about the cosmic flower first. I think the cosmic flower is just saying like who you are inherently isn't your bad habits. You are not your bad habits. You are not your mistakes. Like you are not equal to those things. There's so much more to you, and so Spirit is saying part of what will help you is to remember that you are not all these bad things that you have done or all these bad things that have happened to you. And then with a possum strategy, have a backup plan. That just makes me think that if you do fall back on a bad habit, it's like what I've been saying, having things to get you built up to where you were before. And remembering that healing isn't linear. So have a backup plan means, let's say you do this mistake, then have a backup plan for what you can do to get you out of that instead of being stuck in that. Instead of like biting your nails for a couple more months. Just being like, okay, I did this one time. What's my backup plan for now that I did this? What will help me get back to center? What can help me? And I think for a lot of you, that's lists. That is potentially planning things out. For some of you, that's the thing though. With planning things out, some of you could put too much pressure on it. So you just have to find a way for if you're planning certain things out to not put pressure in your best way. So there's a lot of coping mechanisms you can think of. But also I'm hearing again about accountability, with sometimes planning things out can keep you accountable. And if you keep making mistakes when you make plans, then you have to figure out why that is. And yeah, a question you can ask yourself is, am I ready to heal? Maybe for some of you it won't be until, maybe I'm saying all this now for 2026, but maybe it will take up until this whole year, until maybe next year for you to actually be ready. Maybe it's more about addressing things, working through some things before actually being able to do much progress in terms of the actual actions. Maybe the progress will be more mental. But yeah, I see things being all over the place for you. So you do have to find ways to ground yourself, ground your energy, and keep a big key phrase for you all this year is that you need to believe in yourself. When you don't believe that, it's tied in with shame, of course. When you don't believe in yourself, things won't happen. If you don't believe, then you're already telling yourself that you don't think you can do something. So if you believe in yourself and say, hey, I can do this, even if you falter, being like, hey, I still actually believe in myself, even though this thing happened, even though I messed up. That is true strength. To be able to believe in yourself in the face of adversity, in the face of things not going your way, or even you yourself doing something that you're not proud of, but then being like, okay, I don't have to be proud of this, but I can move on from this. I'm strong. Like, that's a powerful mantra for you all for this year, saying you are strong. So doing stuff like having backup plans, having anything planned out could be helpful for you to keep you on track, and to see also with plans, you can see where you're faltering and where you need to do better as well. And with alignment, it's coming together precision. I think the alignment can deal with many things, but mainly it's about the alignment of who you are. Like, I'm seeing you in fragmented pieces right now, and I'm seeing this all being like fragmented glass, and then I'm seeing instead of you being shattered, you being put back together and almost and there's like no cracks anymore. It's like everything's perfectly aligned, everything is perfectly together. Or like you're pieces of a sculpture and then you're finally all put together again. In the sculpture, it doesn't look like it looks like maybe it's from thousands of years ago, but yet it looks the same as it did back then. It's very much that where think of who you used to be or the parts of when you were younger, when you were more innocent. Think of the parts of you before you developed these bad habits or bad thoughts. Think of who you were back then and think of how you can get back to that place. Because in many ways, you're meant to be aligned with who you used to be, but also there's parts of you who you still have not discovered who you are. So it's also about aligning who you are. Oh, yes, aligning who you are now with who you used to be, as well as who you are meant to be in the future. All of those things can coexist at once. It's just about choosing who you are now by taking bits and pieces from each moment that you want to incorporate. I don't get the sense that you're bad people at all. I think there's parts of you now that are very good, are very charitable or amicable. Just, yeah, positive and relate to who you are. And that's also the case for past you when maybe things were more innocent. And also think of your inner child. What did you do when you were younger? What made you happy when you were younger? What brought you joy when you were younger? Because a lot of times we can forget about those things in the present and just when we're older. And then for the future, think of who you want to be, who maybe you've never thought you could be, or maybe, what am I trying to say? Not only who you thought you could never be, but who you discover yourself to be. Because, like I said, there are parts of you don't even know. So be open minded to yourself for the ways in which your personality changes, develops, and grows. So incorporating who you are now, who you have been in the past, and who you are in the future, and parts of yourself that you want to incorporate, parts of yourself that you unveil about yourself that you don't yet know. All of these things, but taking the best parts that and the parts that align most with you in terms of align most with your personality, with your beliefs, with your actions and words. And with perspective too, zooming out, seeing the bigger picture I think will be helpful. And it talks about how none of this matters. I think, even though I think a lot of you for the mantras you should have, I think a lot of those should be more positive than that instead of nihilistic, but I will say the common ground thing especially makes sense because it's about neutralizing things. Neutralizing who we are now with the past, with the future. Neutralizing our bad habits with these positive habits. It's about also finding a better understanding of why we do the things we do and why instead we should do something else and why these different things would maybe even work better for us, these healthier habits. But with zooming out, I want to talk about the none of this matters part more actually. Where Spirit is saying none of this matters in terms of like people when they go down a certain life path or they make a lot of mistakes, they can be very hard on themselves and think that maybe they don't deserve to live a happy and fulfilled life. Spirit is saying that if you would like to, you don't have to live in the past anymore. You can change. If there are parts of yourself that you don't like, that you want to change, you have the power to do that. Take the power back. You can take the power back instead of thinking that you aren't worthy of healing, or instead of thinking that you won't be able to change, or that other people will view you still the same. F those people, who cares? If that's the case, even like the part of yourself that kind of needs to like have a mini ego death, maybe. Like, no, who cares what parts of yourself? It's just you being self critical. A lot of people have that self critical part of themselves. Most people do. So it's like, just be like, no, I'm not listening to you being negative. I'm gonna try and do things that make me happy and healthy. None of this matters by, with that, it's saying anything that you wish to not continue bringing forth in your life, anything in which does not fulfill you or does not stabilize you, anything that isn't helpful for you moving forward, then it does not matter. and you don't, even if it's been a part of your life, this bad habit or whatever for so long, Spirit is like, it doesn't have to matter anymore to you in the way that it has unless you give it the power. But you don't give that the power, you give yourself the power by removing power from that bad habit. And then from zooming out, and when it talks about perspective, it can be hard to do that with bad habits or things that keep us safe. But Spirit is saying that when we see the bigger picture, when we see how these habits actually impact our lives and even other people's lives, oftentimes, then it shows that when we're able to look back and see the intricate nature of how everything is connected, our bad habits to everything in our lives, or to certain parts of our lives, I should say, at least. Once we're able to do that, it becomes much clearer how to clear out that energy, to clear out those negative habits. Whew, okay, let's go into the guidebooks now. Because I think I will leave what I was saying there. So we have 27 Malachite Nature Heart Chakra. Mother Nature is calling to you. This is why Malachite has appeared for you today. Have you been spending too much time indoors with air conditioning or heating and fluorescent or LED lights? For some of you, I think you might be vitamin D deficient too, and that affects your habits and your thought processes, like quite literally, and your health, everything. Okay, when was the last time you spent a decent amount of time outdoors or in nature? It is time for you to reconnect with nature, to feel the grass, dirt, or sand under your bare feet. Perhaps you may even like to walk through the water at the seaside or in the shallow parts of a running stream or lake. That's the thing too. Something that can help keep you present is by, I talked about this in pile 3 or 4. If you're tapping into your senses while going on like a nature walk or a hike, what do you smell? What do you see? What do you hear? What do you taste? What do you feel through touch? It is important for you to ground your energy through your feet and hands. Grounding your energy in nature is very simple. You may like to touch a tree or some leaves on a bush, or to feel the sun on your face and the wind in your hair. I feel like feeling things with your hands as well as feeling the sun on your face will be very helpful. These simple things all help you to reconnect with nature, and in doing this, you are reconnecting with yourself. I think doing stuff like that too, like feeling this. I wonder if sensations, you feel uncomfortable with sensations, such as feeling, like if you're a texture person, or if you feel the sun on your face and like the difference in temperature. I think some of you could struggle with that because you just like have such an overstimulated nervous system as it is. So Spirit is saying to find things at first, like don't push yourself to do things that make you uncomfortable too much. So like at first, as you're on this healing journey, focus on things that are more simple and that are less jarring, and build your way up to doing things that maybe would have been too much for you to incorporate into your life at first. Plan a day trip or holiday to your favorite destination, one which has a natural element to it. Notice how wonderful you feel when you are there, and how great your energy is when you return home. Then we have a possum strategy, have a backup plan. Don't get attached to one and only one plan. Always have a plan B, or at least a few other approaches to the subject of your inquiry, yes. Too often, you'll find yourself stuck with an agenda about how things should be or how you should act in a given situation, whether or not the plan you're acting on is one that will work. One definition of insanity is trying the same things over and over, expecting different results. So this time, try something new if your first approach doesn't work. That's what I was talking about before. Like, if something doesn't work for you, even if other people say, like, this is the best thing you can do if you're trying to get rid of this bad habit. If it doesn't work for you, don't be afraid to try new things or incorporate multiple different things into one, or do something that other people have never really talked about doing. So instead of turning left, turn right. Listen closely to your inner promptings here. You'll find clues as to what to do all around you and inside you if you just pay attention. It may not be obvious at first, but by opening your eyes, ears, and senses, ooh, it talks about the senses again, you'll find some delightfully ingenious ways of approaching the situation so that the outcome will be in your favor and in alignment, with the will of spirit. Additional associations: grasping, agility, maternal instinct, and stability. Yeah, stability. Yeah, I like how it talked about the senses again. So there's really a highlighting of grounding yourself through different sensory experiences and exercises. Okay, the next one we have here is get some rest. It says this card comes to you because your energy and mood haven't been as high as you'd like. You've been pushing yourself to keep going even when you're tired. Now it's time to balance your busy times with some relaxation. This is a natural cycle of all living beings, so there's no need to feel guilty because you'll now get some much needed rest. Yeah, get rid of your guilt for all areas of your life. During your naps and nocturnal cycle, do pay attention to insights that come to you. After all, when you are asleep, so is your ego, making it much easier for divine messages to reach you. Pay attention to your body's signals, which may call for changes in your diet, lifestyle, and exercise program. Yep, if you still feel tired and drained after resting. Sometimes seeing a licensed healthcare or mental health professional is the best path to recovering your energy and your enthusiasm for life. Additional meanings. Start delegating to others and asking for help and accepting it when it's offered. Yes. Detox from any energy-depleting substances. Feng shui your bedroom for optimal sleep and detach from whatever you've been chasing and give it a rest. That's also about your healing journey, too. If you feel like you are doing too much at once, then just give yourself a rest. That doesn't mean fall back on bad habits, but try not to focus too much on that. Don't make that the only thing in your life, if that makes sense. Like, healing is important, but don't make that the only thing. Also, fill your time with things that make you happy outside of your healing journey, because that also inevitably contributes to your healing journey. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we have 18, Cosmic Flower. The frequency of Cosmic Flower activates our remembrance of the place we call home, the core from which we pour our magnificence out into the world. And page 44 is what this starts on, and that is in, I believe, the original video I did. I believe so. I hope so. Anyway, like the flower that draws the hummingbird to drink its nectar, the energy of Cosmic Flower invites us to keep returning to our cosmic core to drink from the nectar of our origin. Like the tiny bird, yet greatly skillful, we need to recognize that in order to be our highest expression here on Earth, we need to check in with our home base, our source, often. It is the place where we connect to our spiritual core. The Cosmic Flower activation is overflowing with all aspects of the fullest expression of who we really are, an abundance of vibrant color, form, fragrance, sound, and energy that stimulates our senses to a maximum, making us feel alive in every cell of our body. It is an invitation to enjoy the sweetness of life, to lift up negativity and express love as abundantly as we dare. Flowers have been given as an expression of love, affection, sympathy, and intention for thousands of years. Their beauty reminds us of how wonderful life can be when expressed fully. The green center of the flower represents the heart as a center of our being and the core of our experience here on Earth. The bright oranges and reds are representing our passion, our creativity, and our strength. The number 6 is associated with love and relationship, harmony, and balance. All the elements that make the human experience so worthwhile. The dark background refers to the deep, dark universe where we connect to our place of origin, the place we call home. Try this. Close your eyes and connect to that part of you that is closer to source, the part of you that is divine. Breathe in your own magnificence. When was the last time you disconnected from the outer world for a little while? Do you have a regular practice of silent contemplation in your daily life? Do you take time to just be with you? Take some time today. That's very, very important that they re-emphasize that from what I was saying earlier. And then let's go into the other guidebook, and this is the first card in the guidebook. It is Alignment. It's Coming Together, Precision. From Stonehenge in England to Newgrange in Ireland, and from the pyramids of Giza in Egypt to, I'm sorry, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Chichen Itza in Mexico. Across the world, you'll find temples, monuments, and stone circles built by ancient peoples in precise astronomical alignment with the sun and stars. The alignment card is a wonderful one to receive in a reading. It's a sign that things are really starting to sing for you. A physicalization of the flow that's coming into your life after a period of building. That's the thing, too, I want to say is that if any of you have been feeling stuck in other areas of your life, such as career or relationships, once you start working on relieving yourselves of these bad habits, that will inevitably allow more abundance to flow into your life. That can be monetary abundance, but it's also about abundance of love, of creativity, of meaningful relationships, of career. And I think your intuition will become stronger as well over these next few years. It's like, because you'll trust yourself, and you'll also trust more in spirit. It's likely, because they're looking over you. Okay, it's likely you've been working toward this for some time, or that you've recently made some decisions that have started to have a real impact. Whatever you've been focusing on, the cosmos is aligning in your favor, and things are beginning to click into place. Perhaps you've decided to focus on what really matters to you, making decisions from what feels congruent rather than what the outside world told you to do. Perhaps you've made some significant changes in your physical life to bring it into harmony in how you've changed on the inside. Your dreams, ideas, and visions are coming together. Your time has come. Congruence and alignment are here. Make the most of this moment. Celebrate and claim your space. Precision and attention to detail have manifested into the physical. It's time to take a step back, see what you've created, and appreciate the transformation that's occurred. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. I literally said that earlier, and I never say that term, hardly ever. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. Let the harvest be here. Ancient Stones activation. You can say this. I embrace all that I've created. I welcome flow, success, and ease. Okay. And then for this group of oracle cards, there's only one more in the guidebook. So it's perspective. None of this matters. Zoom out, common ground. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture of your life. Step away from the blinkered vision and reactive frame of mind of me against them. Change your perspective, shift your point of view, and zoom out, out, out. We are but a speck of dust in the universe, yet we think everything revolves around us. We see the planet as ours to own and conquer, pillaging the land and setting ourselves up for our eventual extinction. We build fences and walls and create invisible borders. Mother Earth doesn't need us to survive, but we need her. It's time to wake up. A new perspective is urgently needed. We become so lost in our individual experience that we don't realize that most of the things that keep us awake at night are actually distractions. We're wasting our precious time and resources finding each other when we should be coming together to heal what's been severed. This moment is a breath in the timeline of your life. This life is a fleeting moment in the tapestry of your soul experience. Your soul's experience is a flash in the timeline of the known universe, and the known universe is a grain of sand in the unknown universe. Take a moment to see the bigger picture, to find common ground, to find deep compassion in your heart, to gain a greater perspective of humanity in this fleeting moment in the timeline of your soul's existence in the time of all that is, was, and ever will be. The alignment of all three, the past, present, future. Starseed Soul Inquiry. How are you being called to change your perspective? And then I feel like looking up number 94 in the Angel Numbers book. So let's see what it says for that for you all. That started on page 94. Be success. Celebrate yourself. Your angels acknowledge that you've struggled long and hard to come to this moment. Success is yours to receive. Recognize where in your life you are successful. There's nothing too small to congratulate yourself about today. Yeah, there's nothing too big or too small that you can celebrate. I actually really love that. Okay, let's move on to what percentage is my computer at? Okay, get going, Brittany. Set these aside. And now we will start to lay these cards out. Ooh, let's see. And then these oracle cards at the bottom here, these final two from the Angel Answers deck, I will not show you until after a little bit. Oh, and 55, time is frozen. I don't remember if 55 is in the guidebook, but I'll just read that real quick. Change. Things will look different. When you ask for what you want, your angels deliver, and that time is on its way. You are being told that your intentions are being taken seriously. Lie in meditation with your hands over your root chakra, the base of the spine. Repeat this mantra, I am ready for what is next. Love that. And then, you know what? I'm going to look up 12 too. I feel like looking that up too. Let's see what number 12 says. Support. When you take the next step, you are not alone. Life has sent you a new opportunity, or new opportunities, and now is the time to embrace them with the faith that you will be supported. The things that come your way are for your highest good. Reflect on how you've been helped by unseen forces in your life. Sit in the profound realization of how support comes in many forms. Perfect. I've already highlighted that, so I won't say anything further about that. Let's see, though. Is there anything further to say here? Pisces, sensitized. Pisces is a sign most commonly associated with addictions, with bad habits, and the like. So I'm not surprised that that is here. I think a lot of you, it just insinuates that these bad habits are because you basically feel the weight of the world. You feel pain so deeply and intensely that even if you feel like you don't actually feel it, it's because it's been transformed into these bad habits. So these bad habits have been an outlet for you as a way to express the pain and suffering that you have encountered, that you've witnessed, that you've felt. And so it makes sense. Spirit is saying it's understandable why you've had these bad habits. They've kept you safe. They have taken away maybe some of the pain in a way that maybe now you're starting to understand. But now is the time to work through that and not let it just be something that's part of our lives. And then in the 5th house, it says, with the trust of a child, fond romance and making art, do it dramatically, the power of love, investment, gambles, and other games, and your creations. So I think for that, it could insinuate, 5th house can deal with gambling problems and overspending. So for some of you, that's why it relates here. It could also indicate that part of what will help you on your healing journey is to incorporate more arts, to be more creative. And you don't even have to be good at it, because I see with Pisces being here, that's also a very highly creative card. But even if you don't see yourself as actually being very creative or artistically inclined, doing things that are creative and artistic in nature will help you on your healing journey. Because if you have these bad habits because of the pain and suffering you felt, you can disperse that. Just like dispersing energy through exercise, you can disperse this energy, this built up energy inside of you, and that instead of taking the form of bad habits, you can use that energy to create art. That could also mean dancing too. But 5th house is about also doing things that you enjoyed doing when you were younger. Did you like coloring when you were younger? What about playing with dolls? What about collecting certain things? What about building with Legos? What about going to the park? What about going to an amusement park or a water park? Think about things like that, because that's also the thing. Spirit's like, you can replace these negative things with fun things that are more healthy outlets. There are healthy outlets that can be fun. Like, you hear about people where it's like, oh, I don't want to eat healthy. I would rather die young and eat this and that and whatever. Spirit's like, don't have that kind of attitude, because there are ways in which you can be healthy and also be balanced. So let's say if it is something like food, you can have healthy food, but then you can also have days where, maybe you're craving something, so you have ice cream, or you have, like, you go out to eat at this, like, junk food place. I don't know. And, like, whatever it is, Spirit is saying there just needs to be a balance of that, and that you can have fun, you can do fun things, even if they're not necessarily healthy, because if you're balanced, then that makes them healthy enough to contribute to that balance, because it's about those extremes again. You can't do too much of one thing. Too much of a good thing is not always a good thing. It can be a bad thing. But that also means that too much of a bad thing is probably just more of a bad thing. And so Spirit is saying to neutralize that, and you can still have fun while doing that. And you can still have fun also while incorporating healthier, happier habits. Because that's what they are, happier. Some of you maybe feel uncomfortable being happy, and then you feel sad because you're like, you know, it makes me think of me too sometimes. Or you know what people get after concerts? They get really depressed, post-concert sadness or depression. Because there was such that high, the adrenaline, the happy hormones were going crazy. And then after all that is finally, like, released, and you're on that come down from all those happy emotions, those happy times, and you can be sad. So Spirit's like, don't think about being sad later. Just focus on enjoying the moment. Focus on something that also makes you curious. If there's anything you've been curious about learning. Pisces is also a very curious sign as well. So anything you're curious about learning and understanding more of, that could be a good way to occupy your time, is learning about things. All different kinds of things. Even if other people are like, it's pointless for you to learn about that thing, you'll be like, that doesn't matter. Because it makes me happy, and it's not something that hurts you. Or me. And then we have for this other card, they'll be back. Expect to hear from them soon. For me, with reading that card, it makes me think that some people in your life may exit your life, and then later on, because I was going to say this during the tarot portion, some people might be uncomfortable with your healing journey, and they'll, like, kind of leave your life, or you'll have to have better boundaries and not talk to these people as much. I see within the next, like, 2 to 3 years time, these people will come back. Like, I think these people will work on themselves as well. I think people in your inner circle, or people in your friend groups, family groups, there's certain people that won't be happy, and they'll be uncomfortable with your healing journey, but then they will go on their own healing journey. I think in a way you will actually inspire people to do their own healing journey. I think it will take them some time, but then they'll start on it, and they'll be a lot happier too. So then by the time they re-enter your lives, or re-enter it more prominently, then you'll be able to build a better relationship built off of what we were talking about before, true vulnerability, instead of insecurity, instead of comparison or anything. There will be true love there, and also more acceptance of one another. And so I think you'll be able to actually inspire other people. And anybody that leaves your life now, that doesn't mean every single person, but there will be probably some people who will try to re-enter your life because they will have worked on themselves and done better for themselves. And then we have time is frozen. See, I'm not surprised that that's there, because literally, time I feel like will be more so over the next few years for you for this reading, for these messages. And also, I think Spirit is saying, like, even though I was saying for many of you, doing certain planning things out, that doesn't mean planning everything out for your healing journey, but planning certain things out could be helpful. But also, with time being frozen, Spirit is saying there's no better time than now to heal. And also, yeah, it's just now or never is what I'm hearing. And Spirit is saying that all you can do is live in the moment. Don't focus too much on a year from now how quote unquote healed you'll be, or how much better quote unquote of a person you'll be. And don't focus on the past. With time is frozen too, that reminds me of the past. That can indicate that you have been stuck in the past, that time has been frozen ever since this thing has happened. I think that also relates. Like whenever that car crashed or wreck happened, it's like time has been frozen since then, and then you've had bad habits since then to subconsciously keep you safe, even though they weren't actually things that kept you safe. It just felt like they kept you safe, you know? So, Spirit is saying that once you work on healing from this instance or this recurring pattern from your past, once you're able to heal that, time will no longer be frozen or stuck. It will move forward, and then it will feel like your life will progress forward because you're not stuck in that moment anymore. You're living your life instead of focusing on the life that you once had or that you wish you could have had that you aren't at that point now, or that maybe you'll never be. Spirit is saying whatever it is, accepting where you are now, but also healing that past so it doesn't dictate your present or your future in any way. I will read in the guidebook for Pisces now. We have 12 Pisces sensitized. The symbol for Pisces, oh, and look, there's page 40 again. The symbol for Pisces is two fish, usually swimming, you know what? No, I'm going to read, I know I said it's probably another book, or I don't know. Either way, I'm going to read it here again. 40, reassurance. It's all going to be okay. The choices you've made, the place you are presently, and the direction you are going in are all angel approved. Your soul journey is happening as planned. Practice a grounding exercise today. Sit out in the sun and place your bare feet on the earth, or take a salt bath. Look at how many similarities there are about being out in nature and like grounding your energy and like, I can't. Okay, anyway. 12 Pisces sensitize. Page 40 is where it starts. The symbol for Pisces is two fish, usually swimming in opposite directions. Pisces rules the feet and resonates with wetlands, streams, and ponds. Ruled by expansive Jupiter in traditional astrology and by intuitive Neptune in modern astrology. Mutable water sign, Pisces, calls us to sense our dreams and intuitive perceptions for the trickles and streams of understanding. The sun shines in Pisces around February 20th. I always thought it was February 18th, but everybody says it different. February 20th to March 20th is what it says in here. Action. Pisces asks us to swim in the ambient pool of emotion and be moved to compassionate action. With Pisces, think of a vast watery landscape with streams meandering over fields, through ponds and swamps, where the different elements and diverse species flow together in one subtle, boundaryless, and fertile landscape. Appreciate all the diverse voices in this situation and take them as tributaries to your river. This complex ecology has much more to say and is so much more robust than any simple monoculture. The situation you are facing is also subtle and complex, but that it is... The situation you're facing is also subtle and complex, but that is its strength. Okay. The moment calls for finer perceptions, a more sensitive microphone. Be as aware of other people's feelings as you are for your own, but know whose feelings are whose. Track carefully what you soak up, from others, and what is true to your own wellspring. Learn to honor a twin perception, that we are both individual cells with our own work to do, and that our cells are embedded in the body of creation. Healthy boundaries help us do our individual work. Spiritual practice can help us shift our perception from the cell mind to our role in the body of the one. Challenge. Excuse me. Pisces permeability can leave you lost in a swamp. Amorphous, wondering whether your sadness is your own or if it has been sponged up from your surroundings. Empathize with others, but don't try to carry everyone else's pain for them and double the burden. Gift. Tune into a healthy ecosystem with Pisces' sensitive perception. We are all cells in the body of the one. Healthy individuals contribute to the health of the whole. Perfect. So, what I'm going to have you do now is I would like you to look here on the screen, and there are these two Angel Answers Oracle cards. And you may have had questions before going into this reading, or questions may have popped up for you as the reading has gone on. But no matter what those questions have been, they may shift, they may be the same as you look at these answers to your questions, because these do provide answers that if you intuitively look at these cards, you will be able to know what questions should come up for you as it relates to these angel answers oracle cards. So I will now give you a minute to meditate with these cards to make sure you are intuitively finding the correct questions for these answers. All right, here are the answers for your questions. We have question one's answer being yes, and we have the answer for question two being don't stop. I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, 5E, for watching and listening to this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, you can like the video down below. You can comment down below if you resonate with this stack, and you can update your comments sometime in the future if there are any updates you would like to provide for us all. You can subscribe to my channel, it helps me out a lot. You can check out the other timeless pick a card reading videos located all throughout my YouTube channel, and you can check out my ASMR channel, Brittany's ASMR, that will be linked in the video description down below. Thank you so much again, 5E, and take care.